So in this video we're going to talk about equivalent mass. So equivalent mass of substance, that is equals to molar mass of the substance divided by n factor of the substance. So in short it is write as E is the equivalent mass, m is the molar mass over the n factor. Now we know that number of moles is becomes equals to weight by molar mass. So we know that m, that is equals to mass divided by that mv. If you cross multiply over here e with n factor, so that is equivalent mass into n factor. So we could write number of moles by this term also. So here number of equivalent is becomes equals to number of moles multiplied by n factor. So we may write it as a number of equivalents is equals to number of moles multiplied by n factor. So we haven't seen how do we calculate the n factor. So there will be a further video over this how to calculate the n factor. But here let's say we know the n factor. So number of equivalents is given by number of moles multiplied by n factor. So as we know that W by E here it is forming the number of equivalents. So number of equivalents equals to here it is number of moles. It gonna cross multiply number of equivalents equals to number of moles multiplied by n factor. Now we know that what is normality. So normality is equals to number of equivalent of solute over volume of solution. So we know what is number of equivalents equals, that is equals to number of moles multiplied by n factor. Over here it's still volume. So this number of moles by volume we know it is molarity. So normality equals to molarity multiplied by n factor. So here we have seen we need to know the equivalent mass of the substance and number of equivalents also it is important to know, because we know when we apply the law of chemical equivalence we need to know the number of equivalents of every substance and they must be equal. So that is also equals to number of moles multiplied by n factor, and number of equivalents is also been calculated by like number of equivalents is normality multiplied by volume. So here one more way we can calculate number of equivalents, that is equals to normality multiplied by volume, and we know that normality is equals to molarity into n factor. So that is equals to molarity into n factor multiplied by volume. And if we see the very basic formula that we have by moles, we knew that number of equivalents equals to number of moles multiplied by n factor. So that is equals to number of moles multiplied by n factor. So these all three ways to calculate the number of equivalents we must be know. It is number of equivalents multiplied by volume, and obviously that must be in liter, and molarity into n factor multiplied by volume, and number of moles into n factor. So that's how we do calculate the number of equivalents. So now this is the definition we have seen, that is equivalent mass of the substance in that case. Now if we gonna look the old definition of equivalent mass of element. So mass of substance combined with either 1 gram of hydrogen or 8 gram of oxygen or 35.5 gram of chlorine is called equivalent weight of element. So let's take an example. We have MgH2. So like 24 gram of magnesium is combined with 2 gram of hydrogen. It is given that. Now we have to identify its equivalent mass. So if we look at the old basic definition, mass of substance with combined with 1 gram of hydrogen. So if 24 gram of magnesium is combining with 2 gram of hydrogen, so 12 gram of magnesium will be combining with 1 gram of hydrogen. So what is the gram of magnesium is combining? 12 gram. So here we are getting equivalent weight of magnesium is 12 gram. Now if we look one more illustration. So here we know that Na2O is given, and it is given like 46 gram of sodium react with 16 gram of oxygen. Now we know that if we look again to the basic definition, the oxygen we need is 8 gram. So if 46 gram of sodium is reacting with 8 gram of oxygen, so 23 gram of sodium will react with 8 gram of oxygen. So equivalent mass of Na2O is here 23. Or we gonna look the compound AlCl3. So we know 27 gram aluminium here that combines with 3 multiplied by 35.5 gram of chlorine here. It is given to us. Now we need to know here the equivalent mass of AlCl3. So now equivalent mass of aluminium we need to know here, and here also we need to know the equivalent mass of sodium, not Na2O. So here equivalent mass of sodium we are getting 23. Now 27 gram of aluminum compound is 3 into 35.5 gram of chlorine. So what is chlorine? So what is the equivalent mass of aluminum here? So the mass of aluminum that combines with 35.5 gram is 9 gram. So here 9 gram of aluminum will combine with 35.5 gram of chlorine. So equivalent weight of aluminum is coming out to be 9 gram. So that's how we have various method how do we calculate equivalent mass. And here in that case, in the new definition of equivalent mass, we need to know the n factor over here. So there are various method how do we calculate the n factor that we're gonna see in the further videos.